Hi, this is Sandy. Today we are going to finish our ink and pen drawings. But first we've got to do the front door. We've done the geranium study and the pot of geraniums. Now we're ready to do the whole door and to put our geraniums in it. So let's get started and we'll have fun at it. Okay, we're starting off in our sketchbook. Now, if I were to do this as an art project, and I really wanted to make it look nice, I would be using different paper at the end. But first we've got to practice what we're doing. That way the paper isn't going to be the thing that makes us do it well or not do it well. So I've got my sketchbook. Then I've got my studies that I did, geraniums. I'm looking it over, seeing how I did that in ink, how I drew it. I've got all of my notes here. Then I'm looking at my pot of geraniums and the planter, and I'm looking at the negative space and recalling how I did this. I'm going to look at what I did. I'm really pretty happy with this. I like my hash marks. Remember that word, hash marks, because we're going to be talking a lot about hash marks in the next couple weeks. I'm not so sure I like this total bottom. It looks like it's floating in the air, so I have to make those decisions when I put it into my picture. So now I'm ready to move on to my paper and figure out how I'm going to put it on here, and let's get started about it. There's this paper right here, or this page right here is your reference photo. Feel free to download it. It's my front door. It's not the perfect front door to sketch because there's an alcove here and it makes it kind of dark. And I don't want it to be dark. So I'm going to take that into consideration when I make up my sketch for what I'm doing. Then I've got another one here, and I put the link onto this one too. This door here has a lot of scrolly work. You might want to put it in there. If you do, there's a picture that has a better, more definition for what the scroll work on the door is. It's a steel door, so it isn't quite like a wood door like you might see. There's brickwork here. There's perspective in here. We've got to take that into consideration. If you wanted to, you could find where your vanishing point is. This is my white gel pen. And I'm just going to put that up there. And then this one down here goes this way. I'm imagining what this looks like on the inside. So I'll make a bet my vanishing point is right about there. That might be important because when we come out here, we've got to match all of these vanishing points. So I know it's not quite right, but in my mind, I'm thinking about all of these things. I don't like how I've got such a deep alcove here. It's kind of boring. So I can change that. It'll still look like my door, but I can do the changing of it. I can make this post right here come up here. I can bring down this arch here, and it goes to the post to post, so that my post is here, my arch is here. It's going to run that way. I'm liking what I'm seeing better, so I'm adjusting my picture. So I'm going to get rid of all of this right here. Make it not quite as deep of an alcove. But that means that this here is going to, now, if I look at the size difference between here and here, and let's look at the bottom, between here and here, that means that this is going to have to change in size also, if we're changing that. So we've got all of these little decisions to make before we even start. I do like the light. The light is going to be something neat to put on there. All right, so I know what I'm doing. I'm going to change the proportions just a little bit, make it a little more exciting. I see my brick marks here. We can make that more exciting too. I'm going to go ahead and look at the perspective here because, and I'm going to lay this down, I can line up this ruler, put a mark on my paper where this goes, and when I go to make all of these brick marks, I can make sure that they are even. So I've got all of these things in my head that I'm going to be doing to make this start. Okay, let's look at our blank piece of paper. Somehow a blank piece of paper is more intimidating than a scribbled piece of paper, because look at all that space we have to fill up. So we could use tape and just tape it off to give us a start. I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to draw a square of where I know my door is going to fit. I'm going to stay within this square right here. Make sure it's a nice square. We don't want a square that's falling off the page. Okay, there's my square. My door will fit in here. Let's figure out now where things go on this paper. If I am going to shorten this right here, I'm not going to keep my door parallel to the bottom of the paper because that's not the perspective. To do this, I want to see where this line is from here to here. And remember, we're working with simple shapes. I know that this is a box. All right. When it comes time to draw my door, I know that I've got very small area right here and here that's going to be a gentle curve. That's one shape right there. The other shape is going to be this arch. This arch here is the same ellipse as this arch here. If we have one arch going like this and one arch going like that, it isn't going to work. These arches have to remain uniform. Okay, now we've got over here simple shapes, remember that, a rectangle. We're going to have to put a rectangle in there. We've got another rectangle here. Nice rectangle. Once we get these rectangles in, we're going to break it down some more. All right, we've got a post here. So here's another simple shape. It's just a rectangle. Let's start with that. I'm starting with a pencil. I'm not doing a pen. I've got to kind of sketch this out and lay it out. If I start with a pen, then if I make a mistake, it's not what I'm going to want. So I'm going to make sure this is nice and even. And if I were to draw a line, this is a nice straight line. The first straight line is right here. So I'm going to put it right in here. A nice straight line. I can always erase this if I keep my pen marks, my pencil marks light. If I draw deeply into this paper, it's going to make a big mark, and we really don't want that. All right, so this is going to be the front. I can go ahead at this time and I can make this rectangle in here. Let's go ahead and let's decide. Let's see, this is probably what we're going to do here. We're going to shorten that. We're going to move this light down just a little bit to right about here. All right, so if this is my column that I did, this is roughly 1/2 of the page. So now I'm going to come up here, look for about half of the page, and I'm going to draw it in here. Let's look at this shape right here. All I want to do is give enough space on my paper for this shape. I've got a square and a rectangle right there. So when I leave enough space for it in the center, and let's look to see, let's put it down right about at 1/2 again, 1/2 of this. We've got a square and we've got a rectangle. All right, this is my brick line. Now let's look at this again and let's see on my brick line, how much is it off of this bottom? If I were to divide this in half, here's half. This is basically fourths. 1/4, here's half, here's a fourth, and here's a fourth. So I know the bottom is going to be about 1/4 of this space. So let's go for half, and I'm visually determining that this is probably 1/2, this is 1/2 of this part, and this is 1/2 of this part. All right, we said that this pot here goes about 3/4 up the space. So I'm going to say that that square planter is here. It's right about there. That's the rectangle. I can adjust the size of this later, and I could make it a little wider if I want to make the door look a little further back. I just have to make those decisions. I've laid out my space for that. Now let's lay out our space. Let's do this back wall right here. Now when we changed how much space we had, how much of this brick, we changed the area a little bit. So let's look and say how much between here and here is that door. If we divide this space from here to here in half, it's about right, and I gotta use the white pen for you. It's about right here. And then 1/4, and 1/4 is the door. So let's go ahead and get that space for that door over here. Now I don't know where that door is going to sit here yet. So I'm just looking for 1/2 and 1/4 and 1/4. That's this area here that I divided. All right, that looks about right. Then over here, how much space am I going to have from here to here? Not very much, so that door is pretty close to the bottom. But it can't be closer than this, so it's got to be behind this one. So let's make the door right at the 1/4 mark of this one, right there. I'm just putting in a light line to tell myself where that door is. Now, I can come down and I can give my box for my door. There's a planter over here, and it's just a little bit below that. it can't be bigger than this, because if you look at the perspective from here to here, this one's this big and this one's this big. That's roughly 1/2. Amazing how we're using math. So 1/2 of that is that. This planter is probably this size right here. Okay, I'm liking the way this is looking. Now I'm going to take, if we look at this picture, the door isn't exactly 1/2 because of the perspective. So I've got to take that into consideration when I draw my first arch. So here I am drawing the arch. If I break this up, that's 1/2, that's 1/4. It's probably 1/3 of a fourth, so that I'm starting. So there it is, all the way up there. Now it's got to go to that same spot over here. It's a little bit of a perspective. Now up here, I am going to get this little arch right here going. It's got to match this arch. Okay, and then we've got to get how this is turning in, and it's going to have a slight line there. It's going to come down a little bit here, and then it's going to go out here. Okay, these bricks are all going to be running this way on this side, and we'll get to this brick right, let's see, right about here is another wall. If we look at this, we got to put this wall in right there. Okay, I've got all of this laid out. It might look a little bit better if this door was a little bit higher. So I'm going to make it a little bit higher. I've got my eraser here. This is the kneaded eraser. The reason we're using this is because as I erase, there's no eraser markings, the little shavings left over. Sometimes if you use a pink eraser and you get those little shavings left over, then you've got to brush them off. And when you brush them off, the lead sort of smudges. We're trying to avoid having that lead smudge. That's why we use this kind of an eraser. All right, I'm ready to draw the door. I'm ready to draw the pot. Let's look at this pot. Let's divide it in half, divide our box in half, divide it in half again, and we're going to see that the bottom of the planter is right there at 1/2. So we've got to put that in there. Okay, there's 1/2. I can erase that inside line. Okay, it's right at about 1/4. Well, mine went a little bit more than 1/4, so I'm going to take some of that off. Okay, now the flowers itself start at the 1/2 mark. So I'm giving myself some flowers. And the actual curve comes down here and goes into my base. Okay, I've got my planter drawn, And we're going to concentrate on this in a little bit with the leaves. Okay, now I've got this planter here, and once again, it's about the same. So I'm just going to put it here. Give it a little bit of a bottom. Give it a little bit of a, and here's my leaves. I'm going to erase this because I know that's where I want it. All right. Do you see my bottom line, how I slanted it this way? It's probably slanted a little bit too much. So just give it a little bit of a slant. As you're putting the bricks in, this line is going to come up this way. So this brick up here might go there. This one will go there. I'm leaving the same point on the eraser, or not the eraser, the ruler, and I'm just rotating it. Because these are all my bricks. This is giving me a perspective on those brick marks. You could be very precise, and those bricks are very precise. They're each 3 inches long or wide, and so you know the spaces are all going to be the same. Okay, so I've got this one. This now can go all the way in here. Oh, wait a minute. This is this up here, so this has to be a little bit bigger bricks. So I'm making them a little bit bigger. And then it hits that mark, that magic mark that has a little bit different brick there, right there. It sticks out a little bit. Okay, so we've got decorative brick on here. We've got red brick on here. Now we've got to take these same lines, and the way they traveled here, it has to travel there on this inside where it catches this mark right here. So let's find that mark. And I lost that mark. Let's see. There it is. And we're making these bricks much smaller. All the way up to the top. To the top of that arch. Okay, so there's the inside of my wall. There will be brick lines all the way across. And it'll be nice and straight and even with the top and the bottom. So you're going to want to put some of those in. Whether you put all of them in, I'm not sure. It kind of depends on what you want to do. So I'm going to stop there. Okay, now we've got the door. The door has an inset like that. I should have had an easier door. And then it comes up this way and it has that same arch. That looks pretty good. And then it has a decorative little spot down here.
It has not at 1/2 even, it's below 1/2. It has a nice handle there. And now it's ready to work. I might take this planter here and move it down just a little bit. Since I changed the dimension or the bottom, yeah, let's put it down here. We changed things around a little bit. Okay, this part right here is our ledge, and it's got to be the same thing here. The ledge has to be the same spot. Then our decorative brick started here. This isn't as important to be the same as it is over there. Just this height of this one spot there. Okay, now we're gonna give some brick lines, not measuring, not making sure it's straight. But I want it to come down and just stop a little bit above this base. And that would be right about there. We're ready now to do the ink work. I have enough lines in here that in doing my ink work, I can use those guidelines. Let's go back to this door. This door has bricks that go around it. So it's not square, but I can make my bricks go around it this way. I don't have to draw them exact. And then it comes in to the picture. And I don't see anything but the fronts of these bricks. And it goes all the way up to this line. I don't even have to draw all of these bricks. I can just go like this and maybe fill in, and it'll be fine. Okay, here's the outside of these bricks. And I'm going to take it down to where my planter is above it. Okay, then on the inside, these angle off at this angle right here. This has let us turn a corner and see that these bricks are three-dimensional. Okay, let's get the door in here. I want you to be taking your time doing this. I am really going fast and not precisely. At the bottom, there is the bricks come up and then they go down like this. And there's the door. We've got enough ink work to show what it looks like. All right, let's look up here at this right here. And remember, I said it's almost like those bricks are going the same direction with the center point down here. I'm just holding my ruler in the middle and giving it some bricks. Somehow my ruler moved. Okay. Now, when we come and do the brickwork on the inside of here, maybe we don't want all of the brick to show. Maybe we just want a little bit to show here and there. Give it some character. This is going to be a corner. Basically, I'm just giving it tops and bottoms. Making these nice and loose. Come up here and get this. Let's get this handle blocked in here. There's a lock. And I'm going to make that lock a little pretty. Then up here is your big handle. And then it's got the actual handle part that comes in down here and fits down here. That was just a nice gentle curve on that line to do that. Okay, this is another brick facade here. Maybe there's one there. This is going to be our lamp. And we're going to put that out there a little bit, in a little bit, not yet. The thing about bricks is they never line up one on top of the other. They're always offset a little bit. So you don't want the lines coming directly down again. You want them to move over. But you don't want them to be so predictable that they're boring. Okay, I'm about down to my planters. Let's get this one right here. Once again, we don't want it boring. These lines are all very straight up and down. Kind of fell off there a little bit. You do it right. Once again, there's brick lines here. And then this is going to come out. These are those large bricks. And they're going up. So I'm just stacking them. This is our brick mark where we went down that way. Then we came out here. And came down. We're going to have brick marks here and there. Got a dog here that wants my attention. Not going to happen. Okay, remember what we did? We had greenery first. So let's do the greenery. And remember that the leaves of the tree or the geraniums go like this. So I'm just giving it some leaves. Now, just because we've got leaves like this doesn't mean they all have to be. Maybe there's just a leaf that's 1/2. We know what they look like because we drew them. We knew the study. Maybe there's another leaf here. Okay, somebody got that dog. He has to go out. Now the flowers come up, and we're going to be very loose with these flowers and just give them a little here and there, here and there. Maybe there's a flower here and there. And those actually had stems. So we're doing those. I've got my basic shapes in here. Now let's come down and to the pot, and we could see the whole thing there. All right, that looks pretty good. We're going to stop right here. I need to put another brick here and here and here so we can, doesn't look like it just ends there. Okay, let's work on this pot. Same thing. Let's get some of those leaves. Now let's get those little flowers. Remember there was like 2 or 3 flowers, maybe 5 flowers, I think it was, on each stem. So let's give it some flowers up there. We're not being as careful as we were on our studies because we know how they're made now. We don't have to stop and think about it. Maybe there's a little flower right here sticking up, and maybe we could put one over here. Now we're going to need that greenery. And let's finish this pot. Okay, we've got to finish the brick on this. Right here was our ledge, and it had close brick. And then there was another ledge, and then the bricks went out a little bit more. And our brick ledge stopped at our urn. Okay, we're going to come back here and get a couple bricks in here. There. So let's get this lamp. It has a base, but we're not going to go into that yet. We're just going to go into the top. And it comes around. And then it comes down. And then it goes a nice little corner there. Then it comes up here. Comes around. And then it's got a nice top on. All right, and then right here. So let's come down here. And here's where it goes into the back. This is our basic layout. At this time, you would go in and you would erase all of your lines just to make sure you've got everything in here that we need. Now notice, we didn't put anything on that door. You know, I think I'm not going to put anything on that door until after I get some color on it. That's a window. If you look at the picture carefully, you can see the reflection of the outside. We're going to have to color that in. And then we're going to use our marker, so we can always color or use the marker over it. I see what I've missed here. That door has to have a firm start, a firm frame. There we go, a firm frame. Okay, I'm going to do one thing here, and then I'm going to speed it up, and I'm going to work on getting some shadows and shapes in here. Here's my corner. I want to make sure I have a good corner there. All right. I want to find the negative space. If you'll remember on those flowers, we did a negative space. It is time that we look for the negative space in these flowers because we're going to, even though we can't see them, they're there. Here's a negative space. Here's a negative space. Negative space. Under here is a little negative space. Back here is negative space. This is where we're going to be putting in our shadows. If you look at the door, this right here is negative space. It's going to have shadows. Let's see where else we've got negative space. We've got to give some shadows. Here's a shadow right there. There's a shadow up here. There's a shadow right here. When we do the shadows, we don't want to color it in. I'm going to use the word again, hash marks. We're going to create hash marks. Let's go in here on this pot. This is a hash mark. To make it darker, all I've got to do is go a different direction. Maybe I want to go this direction now. It will look darker and darker the more hash marks you give. We know that around the leaves, there were hash marks. Do you have to use lines? No. You can use squiggles. This is going to give shape. This is going to give shape to all of your objects. See, these are squiggles, these are lines. I think whatever you do consistently. It isn't, I'm going to do this and I don't want you to do it. It isn't coloring in like this. If you start coloring in like this, you almost start seeing the negative shape instead of the hash marks. Hatch marks. I will get that word right. This way, if we give it the hatch marks, there's air that moves between it and the next thing. See the difference between here and here? And here and here? Now I've got to try and clean that up. I can even use dots. Now all of these little tricks of shading are going to come in handy because we aren't done with hatch marks. Our next project is going to be so much fun because that's all we're going to do is hatch marks. I don't really like the lines. I get kind of overwhelmed with them. And then I want to do patterns and that makes my eyes go someplace where they shouldn't. I can control lines better than I can control diddly dots, squirrely squirrels. Now this behind here is going to be darker. So I can go ahead, and when I do the hatch marks, I am going to give it a little more air and not make them so close together. By the way, I'm doing this on a 0.5 pen. I've got all of these pens to my advantage to use, but to me that seems to be working the best. Okay, liking what I'm seeing. Underneath this, there's going to be a shadow. We have to add that shadow. Which one can I see it on the best? I can see it down here. Down here, there is a slight shadow there. Not much of one here, but one right here. It grounds our object. That's what we want to do. We want to put it into the ground. It has just a little bit coming off of it, but now it looks like it's sitting on something, which with the hatch marks here, if we go closer, it fills in more and takes more oxygen away. So if I were by this plant, I wouldn't want to be standing behind it trying to breathe. But in front of it, there's a lot of air. There's a lot of space in between these hatch marks. Okay. Just going around the outside, making sure I've got a good line there. This planter right here is done. I'm not going to be doing much with the bricks because I'm going to use the watercolor for that. Up here, we've got a little shadow. But it doesn't go all the way down to the bottom. It's just in these corners, these deep, dark corners. Okay, going to stop right about there. There might be up on the top of these bricks just a little bit of a hatch mark there, and I'm just using X's. X, 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 just to give it a little bit of a shadow up there. Okay, over here in the corner, remember I said there's shadows right here? The closer and darker the shadows are, let's see, that goes all the way in here. The more dense they are, the less air there is. They don't stop all at once. They sort of just gradually go away. Okay, this side of the wall is a little bit darker. I should be able to see my bricks though. If I've lost my brick marks, I'm going to go back in here and I'm going to really give them a good line. So I know I'm still got bricks there. See, I've got these hatch marks down here. I'm going to come up here and just go over all of them. What I've already got down is going to get darker anyway. Okay, I've given you the basics of how to do this. And I'm going to come over here and I'm going to work this side. Okay, we're working on the cream color here. I've chosen a cream there, and then just a blush. Give it a spray, and I'm going to put it up here. I don't want a lot of color there. I just want a little bit. I'm going to take it over there and give it a little bit of. Okay. Now I have got to get my light done. How am I going to do that? I think I'm going to take some of that blue, just not very much. Give it a spray. Put quite a bit of water on that because I don't want it to be real dark. Lay it on here. There, that worked. It's a little wet, so I have to let it dry. Now I'm going to go back to my pen that I had, the 0.5, and I'm going to come down here, and this is a black door. So I'm going to give it hash marks. Hatch marks. That just doesn't want to come out. I don't want to color it all in. Remember I said this paper is very unforgiving for those markers and for the tips, the felt tips. And if you color it in, there's really no reason. And then you're just wearing out your markers. The important thing here is to know your materials. If you're working with a felt tip marker, you're going to wear the tip down by coloring this in. If you're working with a brush marker, like we were just working with, you're not going to wear it down as fast, but you're still going to wear it down. Okay, this is my front door here. I've given it some hatch marks all the way around it. Going one direction and another. Just because I know that this is black. But I want my person who's looking at this to know that it is black too. I can make it a little bit darker at the edges. But what am I going to do with that centerpiece? That centerpiece right here is darker. It's an inset. I would like it to look like it's inset. So I'm going to start out by giving it the hatch marks this way. Turn around and go the other way. I am doing this so fast. I would really like you to take your time with it. You'd be amazed at what taking your time doing this is going to look like. Okay, right around the edges of this, I'm not coloring it. I'm just getting the hatch marks much, much closer. So it looks like it's inset. And I'm also, at the same time, correcting that little bit of a shape that this had that I wasn't real happy with. Okay, now this looks like there's an inset. Everything's black. It still looks all black. This right here might need a little bit of a help there. It did. And we're going to correct that shape. Okay, let's go back and look at this. I have got a wreath on the door. You could put that wreath on the door. It's got scroll work. You can come and you can look at the scroll work and see if you can duplicate it or give it a good idea of what it's doing. And really, it's just winding around itself. Go back up and figure out what it does the next time. The next time there's one up here. And what it does on one side, it does on the other. And then next time there might be one just a little bit more like that. Goes down from the top here and here. The important thing is what you do on one side, you do it on the other. Okay, so I've given my door the scroll work that it needed. And this is my front door. This light right here, I could come in and I could give the hatch marks right there to give it a little shadow. I could do the same thing down around the bottom. I can mess around with this, but this is my front door. I will go ahead and sign it. And if I wanted to give this as a gift to somebody, I could give it as a gift. I would use better paper, but this would be my first draft. I know when I do it how I want to do it. Maybe there's some changes, maybe there isn't. Okay, we worked with hatch marks. Next time, we are going to do a teddy bear. And the teddy bear is going to have a lot of hatch marks. That's how we're going to handle it. And then we're going to build up to scratch art. So, the next couple weeks in art should be really fun. See you then.